You're listening to Real Talk with Theresa Grant, Realtor, Southern California's premier real estate podcast for the mountain communities of Lake Arrowhead, Big Bear, Crestline, Running Springs, and all points in between. Check out our website at www.homesinlakearrowhead.com. And now, back to the show. I am so excited today because with me are Ira and Jennie Leader, the father-daughter super duo team when it comes to title insurance, and they agreed to come speak with me today and share some of their industry knowledge about title insurance in general, and if I can get them to a little bit more in depth. So Jennie, Ira, hello,
good morning.
welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for agreeing to spend time with us. Just to make everything clear for everybody who might be watching us on YouTube or on Facebook or on Instagram or maybe listening to the podcast, would you just give me your usual introduction, please?
I'm Jennie Leader. I have been in the title insurance industry for 19 years on the mountaintop here, and I am a second generation title rep to Ira. He is my father, and I joined his team, like I said, several years ago, and happy to be so.
Fantastic. And Ira?
And I'm Ira Leader, and I've been in the business 33 years, all in the title insurance industry, from all on the mountain. The whole career has been working here on the mountain, so we're experts in the mountain.
Well, now, wait a minute. I'm going to call you out on that one because I remember my first 2 years in real estate down in Redlands, down in the valley. You were my title rep down there. I remember you walking into the office at Diane Lightfoot and Associates and going, I'm Ira Leader. And I was like, okay, Ira Leader.
Yeah, we did try a short stint in San Bernardino, and we found out that the commute up and down was a little more than what we wanted, especially during the winter months. So we begged the company to say, can we go back to where we know?
So, I mean, for us, that was like 30 years ago.
Yes.
And I cannot begin to tell you how relieved I was when I moved up the mountain. My husband and I got settled. I'm settled in with 𝓙𝓮𝓪𝓬𝓮. And who do I see walking through the door like, yay, it's Ira. My title guy is here. So, and we've been together for those title deals ever since.
Absolutely, and it's been a pleasure.
Oh,
it's
thank you.
always a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you so much. But today the focus is actually on you guys. So let's talk a little bit for the general person out there who doesn't speak the real estate lingo as fluently as you do. What exactly is real estate title insurance?
The easiest way for us to explain title insurance is it's opposite of vehicle insurance. When we buy a car, we're expected to have vehicle insurance for any future dings, dents, or accidents. Title insurance is the opposite. When your buyer closes the property and we issue a policy of title insurance, we're insuring that property free and clear all the way backwards through the chain of title to the original deed recorded, issuing a free and clear policy of title insurance from any liens or encumbrances.
Okay,
So it's quite the opposite.
When you talk about insuring backwards in time, now here in Southern California, we have a lot of historic properties that are, over 100 years old, maybe even 200 years old. And there are other places, obviously, in the United States where people are like, my family's had this home for generations, and we've got a title report that goes back 500 years or whatever it is, right? Realistically speaking, how far back in California might a title policy maybe be able to go back? What's the longest or deepest timeline you know of?
Deed out, which basically it came from the United States Patent Office, the United States of America, and then it was subdivided from that point on. We go all the way back there.
Oh my goodness.
Start from that point and work forward.
So a title insurance policy is actually something that's really hefty and really solid. We're not going back like 2 years. We're going back as far back as it goes.
Yes.
We're insuring the entire chain of title, any transfers up to the most current. So we're insuring everything backwards from the original deed recorded up to the most latest that is free and clear, and you have nothing to worry about as far as being the newest owner.
Fantastic. Well, That is probably one of the best explanations I've heard about the basics of what is title insurance. So let's switch over to um, why is it critical for a home buyer to have title insurance? And let me split that off. For the home buyer that is perhaps getting a loan on the property, why is it so important that that's written into every single real estate contract that we're doing title insurance?
When your buyer is going to an institutional lender, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and they're going to a bank, the bank says, I would be more than happy to lend you the money. However, part of our requirements is that you provide us, the bank, with an ALTA lender's policy of title insurance. So what does that mean to the buyer? It doesn't help the buyer. What that policy of title insurance does is guarantee the bank that the correct property is being insured, that there's no other liens or encumbrances on the property. It insures the bank. So it's mandatory from your institutional lender that you will provide me with this policy.
And what policy is that?
That's the ALTA, American Land Title Association, ALTA Lender's Policy.
And is that what it's called everywhere in the United States, or is that more of a California thing?
No, American Land Title Associations throughout the United States, so it's pretty much general throughout. But in California, we use a deed of trust. We don't use a mortgage, so it's easier to say a lender's policy.
Lender's policy. Okay. Well, sometimes though, we don't have a lender involved in the actual purchase. We have a cash buyer, for example. So if a title insurance policy is there to protect the lender, why should somebody who's a cash buyer get title insurance? And if such a thing exists, what is it?
That's when the seller in your RPA basically gives the buyer a California Land Title Association owner's policy. And it's what Jenny said. It starts from the day that you take title of the house, and it works backwards, and I'm going to use to the original patent or deed out, that there are no liens, encumbrances, or matters of record that would affect the ownership of that property. Customarily, the seller pays for that, and it says, hello, Mr. Buyer, I'm offering to pay for you a policy of title insurance which ensures your ownership of the property. And that's part of the sales portion of it, and my own opinion is buyer should never take a piece of property without it.
Oh goodness. That's pretty important, I would think then, because sometimes you do have those transactions where you don't have professional real estate representation. Maybe you're selling between family members, maybe you've got a for sale by owner, something like that. It sounds to me like that this is just one more layer of ensuring that what you're buying is actually something that is yours to hold.
You know, it's easy to say, I want to buy grandma's house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, okay, well, let's just do a grant deed and we'll get grandma's house. But you don't know that grandma's husband, grandpa, passed away, and grandpa had many liens against his name, and grandma didn't know it. So without the policy of title insurance, even through families, it's extremely important to know that there are no liens or encumbrances.
You know, you just triggered something in my memory, and I'm going to take us kind of off a little bit. When a buyer's in escrow and they get the preliminary package, there's a form there that asks them a lot of questions. Is that the statement of information?
Yes.
Now, I remember the first time I bought a house, I looked at the statement of information and I was like, okay, you want everything including a DNA sample? Not really, but you know, it was very involved. A lot of people think that I'm just going to fill this out a little bit instead of filling it out the entire way, and then they get frustrated when it gets kicked back to them. Can you explain a little bit about what the statement of information form is and really what its intention and purpose is?
I'll start with that, and that basically, we don't want to give that information to the title insurance company because they're going to use it for their own benefit. We only use it, meaning the title company, to clear any liens or encumbrances from the seller or from the buyer. It's the most offensive form that you've ever filled out in your life. Where have you lived? How many times have you been married? How many times have you been divorced?
You know, what are the past locations going back
Yes.
7
Yes.
years?
Very personal
Yeah.
It's
information.
extremely personal.
I think it's important to recognize also that document, the statement of information, is required. We cannot transfer title without that document being properly filled out and dated down when it's received, and also the date of recording. The purpose of that form is to eliminate a common name. So I'm Jennie
Okay.
Leader. You could be Jennie A. Leader. There could be a Jennie B. Leader and just a Jennie Leader. And I might have derogatory items against my name as Jennie Leader, but you as Jennie A. Leader may not. And my derogatory red flags might pull up when you're transferring your property. So filling out that form gives the title company and your escrow companies the opportunity to date down and eliminate items of record, which is what your preliminary title report is all about, matters of record, eliminating those items from that individual, because it is a common name
Okay.
form, if that
So-
makes sense.
I think that a lot of times, especially in today's day and age, people are so protective of their information.
That's correct.
So I think that if people know why this form is coming at them, it's for their protection. It's to make sure that somebody else who, you know, may have the same name as you doesn't show up on your information, so that
Yes.
it does protect your title. Is that how I'm understanding it?
Yes, ma'am. And what it does, when we see something on the prelim and the client says, that is not my child support lien, we have to do our homework in order to properly remove that and not take the risk of that being removed in error.
Okay.
So a lot of times we'll do that homework. We will verify that it is or is not that particular client's issue. And if we remove it, we update that prelim and we send it out to all parties, and it's now a nice, fresh, clean prelim. However, matters of record can go against the property recording, and it can go against you as your name. So that's why we require that statement of information. It's a very, as we've discussed, offensive form to fill out, but it's most necessary.
Extremely necessary.
Okay, so the bottom line for anyone, if there was one takeaway from this entire discussion, it's when you get that statement of information form, fill it all out.
Fill it out, put it in an envelope and seal that envelope,
Yes.
and give it to your escrow, give it to yourself, the agent, sealed. We go through a lot of training as your title reps with the title companies. We call it NPPI, non-public personal information. I don't want to see your information, your social security number, anything like that. So seal it up, write your name across that sealed envelope, and hand it to the appropriate person. They will do their homework with it and date it down and get it to the proper channels.
And when the
Okay.
title insurance company is done utilizing that form, within a 30-day period, we have it by our standards that form is destroyed.
Yeah.
It's shredded. And
Okay, so
gone.
it's gone. It's
It's
not
gone.
sitting in a banker's box somewhere for
No.
20
It's
years.
not sitting on a computer. That form is destroyed, shredded, and gone.
Okay. Well, that little side segue there actually took me to the next question, which is, we hear horror stories about title fraud or property theft through title fraud. So let's pretend for a moment that somebody did the statement of information, that's over there doing what it's supposed to do, and it's a couple years later, and oh my gosh, what are some of the things that could happen in terms of fraud that title insurance then steps in and helps alleviate or somehow minimize?
In our date down, in our searches, and in our examining, there's a possibility we could miss a document.
Okay.
And that document may have been a deed of trust that was never paid off. And if that was our position and we missed it, we would ultimately pay off on that. because it was our error, and we are insuring you to be free and clear of any liens or encumbrances other than what we have disclosed. If we didn't disclose it, then it's our error, and we will own up to it. And that's
Okay,
why you buy title insurance.
okay.
And I think title fraud comes in a lot of different avenues. There's, as we discussed earlier, elder abuse. That's a real thing for a title company. We will not just transfer property because all matters of record have signed the documentation, and I say that Ira, who's my father, doesn't need to sign because I have power of attorney for him. We want to see all the documentation that shows that you have the right to sell and transfer this property as an individual, no matter who else is vested on that. There's title fraud, meaning grant deeds. I, as a consumer, can get onto the internet, pull up any house that's for rent, run a property profile, which is matters of public record, see if anything has been recorded against that property, create a fake grant deed, get a notary stamp on it, and basically say it's mine.
So, ouch.
Yes. Title fraud is a big issue in our world. There's a lot of fraudulent folks out there that are very smart at creating emails that look like an escrow account email, look like a lender account email, would look like your email. They will copy exact email off of you, send it to us, and say, please rewire to this account. We're all trained. Our title departments are trained. Our escrow companies that we all deal with are trained. You yourself are trained with your eyes to see that type of mistake. So for us, we don't just push paper through and say we're going to close this deal. We go through everything with a fine-tooth comb the last hour before recording to make sure that we are not going to miss or have any issue without this title being free and clear.
And even at the last minute, once it's recorded and they're starting to wire funds, escrow gets a phone call, our title company gets a phone call and says, please, don't send it to Mary Jones, send it to me at this address. We don't do that. It has to be in writing, because title fraud is send me the money, wire me the money, and they may be out of state, out of the country. It may be a total scam. So it has to be in writing, and there are some instances where the consumer gets very upset, they want it changed, and we won't do it without a live signature
instruction.
written.
Right.
Instruction.
Everything has to be in writing,
Yes,
a
that's
live
correct.
written instruction, because that's part of the safeguards
That's correct.
that are in place, correct?
Yes,
Correct.
paper trails are important.
Yes.
It protects
Yes.
us.
Paper trails are still very important,
Yes.
even in this day and
Yes.
age.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure when it started, but where we're located in San Bernardino County, a couple of years ago, we refinanced our home. And about 3 weeks later, we got a letter from the county of San Bernardino saying, this deed has been filed against your property. Are you aware of it? If not, contact us right away. Now, at the time, you see something like that from the county of San Bernardino, and you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened, right? And oh yeah, we refinanced the house. That's why we've got a new deed that's been filed against the property records. If somebody were to get a letter like that in the mail saying there's been a new deed filed against, or there's been a change of ownership or something like that, and they did not, they didn't do a refinance, or they didn't do maybe a grant deed changing from their own individual to maybe their family trust or something like that. Obviously, the first thing they're going to do is call an attorney, I would hope. But is that also something where they would then reach back to their title policy to get any type of advice or guidance? Or is that something that just goes like, talk to an attorney, the county did its job, you've been notified?
There are a lot of companies out there that basically look at the recordings on a daily basis, and it usually takes the county a couple of days for that to come up. There are companies out there that will send you a letter that says, hi, for X amount of dollars, I can help you file a homeowner's declaration as to ownership to get your $7,000 deduction. It'll cost you $100 or more, which you can actually do on your own. There are a lot of businesses out there that, I'm going to use the word, prey upon people that don't know what's going on. if you did not pass title on your property and you get a letter like that, that's something that you need to turn around and say, gee, who is my title insurance company?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call them immediately and ask them, has something happened against my property?
Oh, because you guys are also the source of so much information. It's important to actually work with a reputable, solid, known title company.
Absolutely.
Great.
Your title company is the vessel that actually transfers through green lights, meaning escrow says we have a green light to go. Your lender says our conditions and underwriting conditions have been met. Let's transfer the property. Your title company is the one who actually e-records through the county database and transfers that property between the seller and the buyer. So we will not do anything like that unless we're told green light, go. And if, like Ira said, if your client does receive a letter like that, it's most important if they have not done any activity themselves on their property, pick up the phone, call your title company, call the county of San Bernardino who sent you that letter, and ask that question. What has changed on my property? I am not aware of anything. And
Great
a lot of
advice.
times,
And title insurance, you pay a one-time fee and it lasts until you change title, until you go off
Okay.
title.
So this is not a recurring fee. This is a
No.
one and done kind of thing that protects you for as long as you own the property.
that's correct.
And if you own the house for 20 years and all of a sudden you get one of those letters from the county that says, hi, something has changed, you dig out your policy of title insurance and look at it and say, I'm calling them because I didn't do anything. They'll be more than happy to answer your question.
Fantastic.
We're here to be part of the team. Whether that transaction is closed or not, it's what we do.
And you know what? I love the fact that you guys are a part of the team, specifically my team.
Yes.
I know that you've got to go out and you've got to meet with other real estate agents and brokers today, so I'm not going to hold you too much longer. But for everyone who's watching or listening, just as a quick wrap up, where can we find you on social?
On social media, we are at Ira for Title on Facebook. That's our business page.
Uh-huh.
You can reach us at ira at irafortitle.com.
That would be the email.
The email?
Or the website is 𝓚4title.com. And there's a lot of information on the website. There's forms, there's fees, there's all kinds of different things that you can actually access off our website.
And it's free, so you don't have
Yes.
to pay to go have a grant deed or an interspousal deed or
So
trust paperwork.
people aren't going to hit a paywall that says, here, we're
Yeah,
charging you
yeah.
money. You just provide this as a service.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys are the best. You really are. Thank you so much for joining today. You're very appreciated. And if you have any questions about title insurance, be sure to reach out to Ira and to Jennie. I'm sure that they would be happy to answer that for you. While you're at it, if you know somebody who would benefit from this type of information, go ahead and make sure that you share this over to them. And depending on where you are consuming this material, be sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, give us a heart, give us a like, send us a DM. We are always thrilled to talk about real estate with you. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. So we had just wrapped up filming and recording the podcast with Ira Leader and Jennie Leader, my favorite title reps. And as we were getting up to go, Ira says, oh, by the way, I got to tell you this story. And I was like, whoa, stop. Turn back on the cameras, turn back on the microphone in the most generic kind of way, because your stories are so good and so, like, I love them. Ira, Jennie, tell us all the story.
This is a story that we came across through an escrow company. And it just goes to show how the title insurance company can help you out. In this particular story, I'll let Jennie explain it. But it almost sounds fake, but you can't make this up.
Okay, so here it is, the
It's a-
jump the shark story. You cannot
Yes.
make this up. Okay, tell me.
All right, so it was a Friday afternoon. The agent says, Ira, Jennie, I'm waiting on my prelim. When it comes in, if it's after hours, will you please send it to me? We said, absolutely. We'll read it for you as well. We'll send it over. We did just that. Lo and behold, the statement of information had not been filled out and submitted so that we could date down this prelim when it was sent to us.
Okay.
The long story short is this: because this form was not filled out, the consumer and his wife read child support liens on our preliminary title report, matters of record.
Generic name.
Generic name. What we didn't know is that there was an issue in the marriage many years ago during the exact time frame of this particular lien that was recorded against the name of the owner and the property.
Oh no.
So-
Again, it's a generic name.
It's a generic
Okay.
name. It could be a very common name. So fast forward Monday morning, escrow's phones are overloaded with divorce threatenings and issues at the house because the husband and wife had a very long weekend.
A tumultuous weekend. I can't even
It
say
was
the word.
traumatic for
Yes.
them to see that the preliminary title report had a matter of record as the same date that they were having issues back in the day that was a child support lien. Fast forward, the wife said, you not only had an affair, but you had a child, and all these years later, we're selling our home, and now I find this. Lo and behold, it had nothing to do with them other than coincidental dates. Had they filled out the statement of information, we would have taken that information, dated down his name and the lien itself, and eliminated that, updating that prelim and allowing a free prelim to come out without any issues over the weekend. So it is most important to have that statement of information filled out properly the first time, get it submitted as soon as possible so that we can do our homework and you don't have any issues.
So basically, let me make sure I've got this straight. The information was false, but if they had completely filled out that statement of information form, it never would have hit the prelim because it didn't apply to them specifically.
Yes,
They
ma'am.
wouldn't have had that terrible weekend. They wouldn't have had all these terrible moments.
Yes.
Okay, so the statement of information can actually
Very
save your
important.
blood
It can
pressure
save
and then
marriage
some.
as well. It eliminates common name. And in our world, there's a lot of common names. And when it comes to real estate, it's the most expensive, a lot of times, an emotional purchase that we're making. And when we make that and we see something like this, we're a little shocked over it. So for us, we say, do your due diligence, fill the form out as soon as possible. Let us do our homework and clear it, and we're going to have a smooth transaction.
Well, okay, I am so glad that we turned everything back on so you can tell us that story instead of that, oh, by the way, as you're walking out the door. Guys, statement of information
Yes,
form.
very
When it comes to you during a purchase, fill it out, fill it out, fill it out. Save yourself some heartache so that you're not a story like this.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you again. We'll go ahead. I'm going
Our
to let
pleasure.
you run. But just in case, one more time, where can we find you on social?
At Ira for Title on Facebook, 909-744-4472, and Ira at irafortitle.com.
Fantastic. All right, guys, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I love it. And I'll see you on my next title order.
You got it.
Thanks.
Okay, thank
Thank you.